Hello and welcome to another edition of Business Perspective. It's another time to look at what is going on in the economy. Relax and enjoy the program. The federal government is not leaving any stone unturned to see that the economic recovery gets better. Hope you will agree with me. This week on the headlines, Senate begins debate on 2018 appropriation bill today. NDIC warns Nigerians against trading in digital currencies. CBN charges MPMS to put nation's economic back on path of full recovery. Organized private sector kick against 14% interest rate. Let's go for a short break. When we come back, we shall give you details. Don't go away. Welcome back. The Senate says it will begin the debate on the general principle of the 2018 appropriation bill today. The President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, said the commencement after a week of its planned debate was to enable the Senate to first consider and pass the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. The lawmakers, however, queried the critical projection used in the budget proposal as contained in the 2018-2020 medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategies.
Budget consideration will now be scheduled to take place on the 28th, that is next Tuesday, and 29th, next Wednesday. Reason for that is that we have to pass the MTEF, which we're hoping to will be late by tomorrow to be passed this week. Secondly, the distribution of documents. I hope you have all received the documents accompanying the 2018 budget, the revenue and expenditure budgets of the FGN-owned enterprise and agencies, the consolidated 2016 implementation report, budget implementation report for first quarter 2017 and second quarter 2017, and also budget volume 1 and 2 should be received today, and the joint sitting votes and proceedings also should be received today.
The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, has again warned Nigerians against the risk of trading with digital currencies not issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. The Director of Research Policy and International Relations, NDIC, Mohammed Umar, said in Kano that the mandate of the corporation does not include providing insurance cover to risk associated with trading with digital currencies not issued by the CBN. Umar and other financial experts who spoke at a 2-day annual workshop for business editors and finance correspondents on financial disruption of digital currency and its consequences on the banking and deposit insurance system said an interagency committee involving the NDIC, Ministry of Justice, Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, Nigerian Police Department of State Security, DSS, and other relevant agencies had been established to sanitize the system.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, Securities and Exchange Commission, the NDIC, have a responsibility to continuously educate Nigerians against Ponzi schemes or wonder banks, but if anybody decides to ignore the warning, to ignore the advice, he or she is on his own. We cannot do much more than educating the members of the public that these are not licensed institutions. These are not licensed by the Central Bank. They are not insured by the NDIC. They are not licensed by Securities and Exchange Commission. These are products that are, crafted by people who by all means want to dupe innocent people, or maybe greedy people who want to gamble with their money.
Never again as a nation are we going to allow the wanton diversion and embezzlement of public funds to private pockets. This, according to President Muhammadu Buhari. The president was speaking when he inaugurated a 3-man audit committee on recovery and management of stolen assets. The committee's term of reference include harmonization of all funds and assets recovered home and abroad by the various ministries, departments, and agencies. The committee has a month within which to submit its report. Our correspondent Rashida Yusuf has the details.
The Audit Committee on Recovered Assets has 3 members. They are Olufemi Ligaju, Gloria Bibiogba, and Mohammed Nami, all seasoned auditors with proven track records. They are to harmonize all recovered funds and assets, home and abroad, by the Buhari administration. Speaking with great sense of patriotism, President Muhammadu Buhari, while inaugurating the committee this Wednesday, said, "Never again will Nigerians' public fund be allowed to be diverted into private pockets."
The gains of our initiatives over the past 2.5 years have been very obvious to all Nigerians. This is clear from the level of investigation, prosecution, and forfeitures involving both public and private sector officials in the country. The message has therefore been passed loud and clear that never again as a nation are we going to allow the wanton diversion and embezzlement of public funds to private pockets.
According to the president, recovered assets are being progressively returned to designated accounts by anti-graft agencies and other agencies of government. However, in order to block all loopholes that might still exist, a committee needs to be set up to ensure that all recovered assets are properly accounted for.
It was in realization of this and due to our determination to ensure that in pursuing the anti-graft war, we do not create a new room for dishonorable conduct by any individual or agency, that I directed earlier in the year that all agencies should send in detailed reports of all their recovered assets as at March 2017. The decision to inaugurate this audit committee on the recovery and management of stolen assets within and outside Nigeria today is therefore the next step in ensuring that all returns filed by the various agencies are accurate and consistent with actual recoveries made.
The committee members are to undertake an audit of all recovering accounts established from the date of opening up till April 2017. All relevant agencies, including banks, are to cooperate with members of the committee as they carry out this national assignment.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has advised monetary, fiscal, and trade policy makers to remain focused and work hard to put the nation's economy back on the path of full recovery. The CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele gave the advice after this month's monetary policy meeting in Abuja. Emefiele said the advice is coming in view of the level of confidence the Investors Committee recently expressed in Nigeria, which is said has led to the nation's ability to secure and access $3 billion of the Eurobond request.
In consideration of the foregoing, the committee decided by a vote of 8-1 to retain monetary policy rate at 14% alongside all other policy parameters. One member voted to reduce the MPR by 100 basis points. Consequently, MPC voted to 1. Retain MPR at 14%, 2. Retain CRR at 22.5%, 3. Retain the liquidity ratio at 30%, and 4. Retain the asymmetric corridor at plus 200 and minus 500 basis points around the MPR.
The Senate had approved the request of the executive to embark on the borrowing of $2.5 billion to support the 2017 budget and $3 billion for refinancing of domestic debt. Emefiele further disclosed that the CBN also retained the monetary policy rate at 14% alongside other policy parameters.
However, we could only access $3 billion into tranches, 15-year and the 30-year tranches. I think one was at 6.5, the other at about 7.38 or so percent. So from there, you will note that the investor confidence in the Nigerian economy continues to be strong, based on most of the macroeconomic indices, and also supported by the decisions of both the monetary and fiscal policies.
In the meantime, on the issue of ownership of a mobile telecommunications service provider, Nine Mobile, formerly called Etisalat, Emefiele assured subscribers that everything is under control. Meanwhile, members of the organized private sector in Nigeria has vehemently frowned at the Central Bank of Nigeria's decision to retain the 14% interest rate for the fourth time in the roll. The CBN monetary policy at its meeting announced that no change will be made to all the rates, and as such, they remain as it were. To this end, members of the private sector noted that the monetary and fiscal policy must work together in order to trigger the economic growth. They said no nation can attract foreign investors and also build a viable economy around its local manufacturing sector with a double-digit interest rate.
The 14% is still on the high side. We also think that double-digit interest rate does not make any sense if we have to grow our economy. Therefore, we should be thinking of bringing down the interest rate. If we go on a single-digit interest rate, it's just a question of policy statement, and we begin to adjust into all these things. If we drive our policy right with good policy statements, I think we can bring this interest rate to at least 9%. I mean, 9% interest rate.
Inflation is going down, and it's been steadily going down. So it's about time that the MPR is adjusted. We can understand when they were managing inflation that was almost hitting 20%, and they maintained a tight monetary policy by keeping that MPR at that level. But now that inflation is coming down, I think we need to support the economy further by relaxing or reducing that MPR. That's my thinking, and I believe that it will be very beneficial to stimulating further productive activity so that the recovery of the economy can be sustained.
In a related development, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has called on the government to double its activities on road maintenance, which is one of the vital infrastructure in moving the economy of the nation forward. The national president of MAN, Frank Jacobs, made a call in Lagos while speaking on the theme, Building a Competitive Manufacturing Sector, a Roadmap to Nigerian Economic Recovery. Jacobs, who was represented by the Vice President, Isaac Agoye, said, without a fiscal infrastructural development, the lingering problem faced by the manufacturers may become worse, enumerating some of the challenges other members of the group called on the government at all levels to put in place enabling economic environment that will help the sector to grow.
Well, the private sector is already demonstrating resilience. The private sector, especially manufacturers, are happy to know that the economy is moving out of recession. Although they have not felt that movement yet, they're still suffering from the effects of the battering that took place during the recession. As manufacturers in Nigeria, in fact, as an association of manufacturers in Nigeria, you'll find out that many of our members, 70% of our members, maybe even 80% of our members come from the small and medium. The large ones have a lot of capacity to survive, so they will survive. They have a lot of reach to overseas financing. They have a lot of muscle to work in cooperation with the federal government to achieve some of the new economic objectives of the country. But most of our members that are in the small and medium scale categories are really suffering. Factories are being closed, employment has been lost, and it's really very difficult, if not inconceivable, to see how the companies in this category can really survive.
Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi has stated that the Nigerian Railway Corporation will still be on the platform until proper negotiation and agreement were concluded by 2018 on the planned concession of narrow gauge network to General Electric. He stated this during an interactive session with the Senate Committee on Land Transportation. Amechi, who explained that General Electric will be investing the sum of $2.7 billion on infrastructure, operations, and maintenance of entire narrow gauge line concession, added that once the concession agreement with General Electric is concluded, the Nigerian Railway Corporation will hand over the affected rail lines to General Electric.
Now, in the brief we sent to you, sir, we did mention to you that the narrow gauge in Nigeria is about 3,500 kilometers, and they are not in a good state. In fact, I'm waiting for the report of derailment near Agege last week. I'm waiting for the report for the derailment. The chaotic situation of narrow gauge in Nigeria is funny. I used it that if we sign the agreement between December and January, they should start decongesting Apapa Seaport. So we want to transfer the cargo in Apapa Seaport to the train so that we can solve that gridlock. The reason why you have the gridlock is because everybody is trying to go into Apapa Seaport to convey their goods out of the seaport.
Earlier, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Land Transport reiterated the commitment of Senate to partner with the executive towards ensuring Nigerians reap the benefit of all the promises made to them by the Buhari-led administration, principally of a functional rail network traversing the length and breadth of the country.
In the light of the foregoing, we restate our commitment to ensuring that we partner with the executive to ensure that Nigerians reap the benefit of all the promises made to them by this administration, principal of which is a functional rail network traversing the length and breadth of this country.
The committee commended the effort of the Buhari-led administration to source for alternative source of funding for critical national assets. The Technical Committee of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, and stakeholders are deliberating standards on zinc, aluminium, magnesium-coated steel sheets for general application. This is to provide basic for quality monitoring, continual improvement, and ensuring conformity to standards by manufacturers, importers, and consumers. The Director General SON, Osita Aboloma, who was represented by the head Man-Cap Unit SON, Engineer Fred Akingbesote, while sharing the essence of the meeting, said a nationwide verification was carried out on coating thickness of roofing sheets, which brought about the introduction of zinc, aluminium, and magnesium. The head Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, Dr. Henry Igbemiri, said that in trying to meet up with world standard and best practices, there is need for new standards which will take care of the coating for general applications. SON says the end users is the major priority in drafting any standard, and as a result, cost and longevity will be considered for the benefit of consumers.
Supposed to last for about 8 to 10 years before you see the brown rust. But this day you see it everywhere. 2 years after they are rusted. And it's most of the economic of the coating requirements. In the process of time, a new product came to be, which is, apart from using zinc as coating medium for these roofing sheets, 3 different chemicals from alloy that are now being used, which are zinc, aluminium, and magnesium. We have tested this thing in a lab in Italy, and we discovered that this one, you don't need much of zinc, but the longevity is not less than 5 times what you have presently. It's a new technology, and that's why we put it upon ourselves as one of the core functions of this administration to prepare a standard in conjunction with all the stakeholders.
Going to Ogun State now, the state governor, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, has presented 345.42 billion naira 2018 budget proposal to the State House of Assembly for its approval. The 2018 appropriation bill, according to the governor, represents 57% increase compared to 2017 budget size of 221.09 billion naira. Amosun explained that the 2018 appropriation will reflect on its administration resolve to achieve its campaign promises by embarking on new projects and completing ongoing ones.
Budget of accelerated development, reflecting our resolve to work more assiduously to deliver on our electoral promises to the good of the state by commencing new projects and fast-tracking the completion of all ongoing projects before the end of our term. We therefore propose, Mr. Speaker, a budget size of 345.42 billion, which represents an increase of 57% compared to 2017 budget.
I want to, on behalf of my colleagues, assure Your Excellency and people of the state of the cooperation and support of the legislation in the passage of laws and resolutions that will continue to facilitate the provision of the required policies and legal framework required by the government to enhance the provision of more infrastructural facilities and other necessities that are germane for improved quality of life for all residents in the state.
In order to encourage the return of banks that had left the northeastern part of the country back to the region, the Managing Director of Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, Alhaji Umaru Ibrahim, suggested the need to provide incentives to the financial institutions. The return of banking service back to the Boko Haram ravaged area, he said, will help stimulate economic activities in the region and boost financial inclusion. Ibrahim disclosed this in Kano State at the workshop for financial journalists with the theme, The Role of Nigerian Banking Sector, Opportunities, Challenges, and the Way Forward, organized by the NDIC. The NDIC boss explained that there was need for joint collaboration between the CBN and the governors of the region, adding that the collaboration would be the key in addressing the issue. Alhaji Ibrahim is my guest this week. Let's listen to him on the role of Nigerian banking sector, opportunities, challenges, and the way forward.
We are part and parcel of the initiative to rebuild the financial infrastructure of the Northeast, and therefore we will do everything possible to encourage the deposit money banks, primary mortgage banks, and the microfinance banks and other financial institutions to reopen. After all, it's a business decision. There is money there, there are opportunities there. Agriculture is going to boom there. You've heard about potential for mining, for other industries and so on in the Northeast. Agriculture, livestock, and so on and so forth, fishing, and so on. So it's not a charity. Banks go in there, they will reap, and they will get good returns. Most of the banks have declared their profits, their volume of operation. The number of depositors and accounts are growing. Okay, their volume of business is growing, their profits are growing. But this is not to say that we don't have pockets of problems here and there with a few banks. That's the truth.
I will leave you to graphics of today's trading on the Lagos floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Prices of commodities and other prices from industrial and precious metal. Till next time, when I will bring in you fresh facts and figures from the world of business. Remain blessed. I am Abiola Ismail.